Aloha, everybody. Dr. Clifton Otto here. And today I would like to share with you a column that appeared in the editorial section of yesterday's Star Advertiser Newspaper. So that would be November 12, 2025. And the reason I want to share this article is because I think it does a pretty good job of encapsulating the issues surrounding the federal situation with cannabis in Hawaii. It also represents the culmination of my research on this issue over the past 10 years. Now, some folks will say that the only reason I'm doing this is because of financial compensation that I receive as a certifying provider. Well, if you saw the amount of time that I give to advocating for our medical cannabis patients and the difficulties I've faced trying to discuss this issue with our state and federal government officials, you would say that this is a horrible business model. And you'd be right. The reason I do this is because I feel an obligation under the Hippocratic Oath to reduce the harm and discrimination that my patients are experiencing, and I feel a duty as a resident of Hawaii to protect our state's constitutional authority over the intrastate medical use of cannabis. Plus, standing up for my patients and doing the right thing is far more satisfying than worrying about financial gain. So I have the article pulled up on my screen. It is entitled Gov, meaning Governor, Must Bring Parity to Cannabis Laws. It's about 570 words. So here we go. Now that the governor has announced his desire to be a healing force in the White House, it's more important than ever that healthcare issues back home be addressed. If the governor wants a place on the national stage, then he needs to resolve the federal situation with cannabis in Hawaii first. The governor is clearly sympathetic to the needs of our patients, and his recent approval of changes to Hawaii's medical cannabis registry program are greatly appreciated. But there are still additional steps that must be taken to end the discrimination that medical cannabis patients experience every day because of the federal situation. This issue goes much deeper than trying to lower dispensary prices. This is about our state's constitutional authority over the intrastate practice of medicine and the responsibility that the state has to protect this authority and its residents. There is no other state medical program in which patients must violate federal law to participate. Patients enroll in Hawaii's medical cannabis registry program voluntarily, but there is no way to participate without violating the Federal Controlled Substances Act through possession of an illegal Schedule I drug. This can result in devastating consequences that patients are often unaware of and completely unprepared for. The Rohrabacher-Farr Appropriations Rider, adopted annually by Congress for the past decade, prevents the U.S. Department of Justice from using resources to interfere with state medical cannabis programs and register patients. So the problem is not patients being arrested by federal law enforcement. The problem is the unintended consequences that are regularly occurring in critical areas such as employment, firearms registration, housing, hospice care, and inter-island transport, to name a few. These unintended consequences are a significant threat to the health and safety of our medical cannabis patients. And this problem will not disappear with the federal rescheduling of cannabis. As long as cannabis remains a federal controlled substance, patients and dispensaries will continue to be exposed to prohibitive Drug Enforcement Administration and Food and Drug Administration regulations if explicit protections for state programs do not accompany federal rescheduling. Unfortunately, the federal supremacy argument is only perpetuating the current situation and ignoring our state's authority over medical use. The U.S. Constitution is based upon the concept of federalism. And one of the powers reserved to the states is the intrastate practice of medicine, which includes medical cannabis. Luckily, there is another way, and it involves an administrative solution, House Concurrent Resolution 132, that was unanimously adopted by the state legislature in 2021. This resolution is based upon the long-standing federal exemption for the ceremonial use of peyote, and it is still awaiting action by the state. But regardless of how this issue is resolved, the only way to find an acceptable solution is with transparency and open discussion. Resistance from the governor's office to address this issue is making it impossible to move forward. If the governor has the president's ear, as he claims, then why not use this opportunity to be the first state that figures out how to reharmonize the state and federal regulation of cannabis in a way that protects our state's authority over interstate medical use and removes the negative consequences that our patients are experiencing every day. With nearly 30,000 registered medical cannabis patients and roughly 300,000 potential patients for chronic pain alone, resolving the federal situation with cannabis in Hawaii would provide urgently needed relief for a significant segment of our ohana. Then the governor would be justified in becoming a national healer. So there you have it. I will put some links below that are relevant to this article. And if you support the message, please feel free to share as widely as you like. Maybe we can catch the governor's attention and get to him to address this important issue. Thanks very much for your help, and aloha.